Hello and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. This episode, we're going to, as CCR would say, better run through the jungle. That's what we're doing. We're going to play Vietnam Solitaire Special Edition, a game designed originally by David Kershaw. And the special edition, make sure I get this right here, designed by Steve Kling. Okay. Now, that's what we're going to do. We're going to try and run through the jungle here. Now, I will say that I am starting this game. Let me show you first here. I am starting this game in 1966, because that's when the U.S. really gets involved in the game, and that's when the game really gets rolling, so to speak. So let me give you an overview of what's happening here from top to bottom. First of all, you can see we've got a lot of trail markers here funneling into the regions. There are 5 regions altogether here. I've got Big Trouble in Laos, also Big Trouble down here in Cambodia as well too. Okay. Now I have managed to get control of 2 regions right now, the Mekong and Saigon. But in order to score victory points, you must have control of all of, should I say, 3 regions in order to get it. So 3 out of 5 is what you need to score a regional victory point. So that I have not done. Speaking of something I have not done, I just realized something here that I forgot to do from last turn. I forgot to move down these extra NVA units into the highlands, because they were able to manage to clear the space out of there and have excess. We'll get to that a little bit more here in a few moments, but I forgot to do it, so I do want to make sure I do the game properly, so now I have reset it. Okay, alright, so here we are. We're ready to roll and head through the jungle. Every time I think about that song, I always think of The Big Lebowski, one of my favorite movies. So, alright, here we go. So, sequence of play, first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll for trail counters. Let's see if the North Vietnamese are able to set up more trail counters elsewhere. So, you roll a trail counter dice, and it corresponds to the areas over here on the trail counters. Okay, and the trails, as you can see, are numbered 1 through 6. Okay, you can have 2 trail counters in a space. If you roll for more than that, you can't get any more in there. The exception is up here in the north in spaces 1 and 2. If you have a trail counter already, or if you have 2 trail counters there, then, because the game actually starts with 2 trail counters there, then you go ahead and add some SAM units and some MiGs to the situation. Okay, but that didn't happen. I rolled a 4 and a 5. Now 4 already has 2 in it, so there won't be another one. That's a little bit of a break for me because you don't re-roll. Right? Now the 5th one, unfortunately, they're opening up another trail down here in Cambodia. Okay? So that's a bummer. So the first thing you do every single turn is you roll for the trail counters. Now, the next part of the turn is you can attack the trail counters, okay, as the solitaire player. All right, the game system controls the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong. You're controlling the Allies. And I do stress Allies because in this game you have the ARVN, you have the United States, and you have ROC, the Republic of Korea, and you also have ANZAC forces from Australia and New Zealand area. But if you look over here at this die, this white die, and you can see here is the political events table. I rolled a 4 last time. Let's see what the 4 says, shall we, boys and girls? Sorry, I'm sounding like Eddie Murphy in Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. Oh, look what Mr. Johnson and Mr. McNamara gave me. No B-52s or Green Beret attacks. So that means I can't attack any of the trail markers this turn. Okay. Normally, you can use Green Berets, which are successful on a die roll of 1 or 2, or B-52s, which are successful on a roll of 1 to 4. Send some heavy metal in, so to speak. But I can't do it because my hands are tied. Because McNamara and Johnson said, we don't think you should do that. And to use the great comeback from the Big Lebowski, my response was, well, that's like your opinion, man. But unfortunately, I can't do it. So there's no trail attacks this time. So now I can raise and move U.S. and ARVN forces. Okay. Now, in this portion of the turn, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to check the chart over here, okay, which is printed on the map right above the turn record chart. Okay, and as you can see, it has the turn numbers and it tells you what you get to add. So if you look here under turn 4, I get to add all remaining U.S., ROK, and ANZAC forces. So here they come. All right, Republic of Korea, ANZAC forces. I bring in all the U.S., including the Marines. And I bring in some more air cav, and I got some U.S. armor. So, U.S. full commitment here in Vietnam. It's this whole other country. On turn 4 in 1966. So, I will have that at my disposal to use. Now, each turn, you as the player get a number of political points. The political points are determined here by this number in this upper space here. So this number is used for the next game turn. So for example, this one's 15. Next turn, I will be getting another 15, etc., etc. It's basically one forward here. And you mark it with this political marker here. Now those 15 points can be used to purchase units, which there's a purchase chart right here. Now ignore the bottom part in red because that's used with the original rules, which, to be honest, I've never tried the original rules with this game. I've always tried, excuse me, and enjoyed the special edition one here that I'm using. Okay, so as you can see, a lot of stuff like ARVN and ROK troops only cost 1 political point. U.S., of course, not surprisingly, costs more. Okay, 2 for U.S. infantry, Marines, or armor. 3 for air cav. Okay, moving U.S. and infantry to a different region you can also do. And then you got your B-52, your Green Beret attacks, and your napalm. Smells like victory. So I've got all these things I can purchase, and I have 15 points. Why do I have 15 points total? Oh, that's right, because I couldn't attack the trails. Sorry, that really sticks in my craw, not just from the game perspective, but also from a history perspective as well. I got a bunch of guys running across somebody else's border that they're not controlling. They're coming in and killing my boys. I'm going to blast them. Sorry. That's just straightforward, honest talk from me. Now, so I can go ahead and spend these, and then I can put them into any one of these regions here. Okay, like this is Saigon, and then you have your different region spaces in them. The region spaces vary by color. Let's take a look up here at actually Way, because Way has an example of each one. So the green are jungle, the gray are cities, and the blue are rice paddies. Okay, and if you look at this NVA unit here, it's got 3 numbers on it. It's its combat value when it's in the jungle, the rice paddies, and the cities. Every unit has that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place my units here, and let me see what I want to build. One thing you have to be careful with here is, notice the chart said about moving U.S. forces, but you cannot move ARVN or ROK and ANZAC forces once you play them, unless they are quote-unquote eliminated, which basically means they're combat ineffective and you have to re-equip them, etc., etc., etc. Okay, all right. And you must always raise ROK and ANZAC forces before you can raise U.S. forces. ARVN forces, you can do that at your discretion, but you must bring in the ROK and the ANZAC first, and as the rulebook says, the designer said, that's to emphasize the fact that this was more than just a U.S. war, which sometimes is overlooked in the history of Vietnam. Alright, so, looking at my situation here, the Mekong's in good, Saigon's in good shape. I got a few guys here in Cu Chi, I think is how you pronounce that. If I'm mispronouncing it, I apologize. The Highlands, I got major problems, and Way, I've got issues there too. Now, of course, later this turn, the communists will have a chance to come after me, so I got to also take that into consideration. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and raise my ROK and ANZAC forces. So that's 3 points. 1, 2, 3. I do want to bring in some U.S. forces as well. I'm going to bring in the air cav, so that's another 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to bring in 2 U.S. Marines. That's another 4. So 9 minus 4 is 5. And with the last 5 points, I will bring in 5 ARVN. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that takes me down to Zippo. Okay? And you can't save your political points, so it's use them or lose them. Sometimes it's frustrating because when you have sometimes events like I had this turn, then you can end up with extra points if it's early in the game before the U.S. intervention. Okay. Now I can place them in any one of the regions I want, in any one of the boxes I want, either with or without North Vietnamese forces. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to deploy some ARVN and some rock up here in Wei. I want to crush them there. I'm also going to use some US and some ARVN forces to clear this jungle space out. And then I've got 2 jungle spaces here. Now the problem here is that the ARVN does not fight very well in the jungle. So let me put this rock unit into here. And I'm going to take the Anzac and you know what, I'm not going to try to completely clear the highlands. And there's no stacking limit, by the way, either. You can put as many units in the space as you want. So I'm going to put a big spec here to slam them. Okay. Now within the regions, okay, like say region 3 here, I can move units around if I wish to go ahead and attack enemy units or give support. I cannot leave the region unless I spend a political point, and again, you can't do that with ARVN and you can't do that with Rock and Anzac. So basically when you place those units, make sure you know what you're doing, because you can't move them. There, it's basically set in stone, if you will. Okay, so now I've placed everybody here. And I don't really feel the need to move anybody. I'm going to leave these ARVN forces here, because you can see there's 2 trail markers here with this arrow. So there's going to be 2 MVA units coming into play, and I want to be ready to deal with that. Okay, so combat. Now the combat system is pretty straightforward here. Okay, so we'll go region by region here just to show you. All right, and we'll start up here in the city of Wei, literally. Okay, so again, the middle number on each unit is the number to hit. So basically, as you see there, the MVA has 2 or less. The 2 ARVN units, because they're in the city, we're doing the 3rd number. Remember, it's jungle, rice paddy, city. They're 3 or less, and so is the rock. Okay, and again, you could argue that's a little bit of overkill, but because of the way the game system works, I want to make sure that I have a presence in Wei and keep things bottled up, so to speak. All right, so let's go ahead and roll here. So I've got 1 die for my international forces, which is 1 color. I've got black dice for my rock. And I've got a red die, naturally, for the communists. There's a shocker. Let's find out. Okay, so we're looking for those magic numbers to hit or less. Ouch. Bad, bad start to the battle up here. Okay. So, we have got, let me nudge this way just a tiny bit. There we go. Alright, so as you can see, the MVA unit got a hit. They rolled a 1, 2 or less. Unfortunately, the green die is for the rock. Any international units, Rock, Anzac, US, I always use my favorite dice. And then the black units are for the ARVN. Alright, so didn't get any hits. Okay, and we're going to lose an ARVN force. So there go the ARVN. And there is a chart in the rulebook about what units to lose first. Basically, the most important thing to keep in mind is that for the communists, you always remove a VC unit before you remove an MVA unit. Okay? Alright, so second round of battle here that we need. Fighting for control of the city of Wei. Let's see what happens this time. Ah, well, it's a victory, but it's a hard-fought one. So notice this time we got 2 hits. Okay, both the Allied units, the Rock and the ARVN units, got what they needed. The MVA also scored a hit as well. 2. So, remove the ARVN, remove the MVA. And the Allied forces have taken control of Wei City. So now we're going to move down here to this battle in the jungle. Better run through the jungle. The only problem with that song is every time, for some reason, I don't know why this is, after I sing like the first couple lines of that, I always want to slip into Green River. I have no idea why that is. Okay. Alright, so here we go. So this time we've got an ARVN, which is not so good as you can see. You need a 1. And a US Marine, which is 3 or less. The VC have a 2 or less. So let's roll the dice. Let's see who gets what. Alright, so I rolled a 1 for the ARVN. Hey, that was lucky. I rolled a 3 for the US, which is also a hit. And I rolled a 3 for the VC. So the VC are defeated and pushed out of the jungle. There's something you don't see every day. the situation in Wei is looking better for the moment. All right, let's move south here into the Highlands. Now, here's where things are going to get wild. All right, we got a ton of NVA units. 1, 2, 3. They got 4 units there to attack in the jungle, needing 2 or less. And they got 1 hit. I rolled a 3, 2 5s, and a 2. So they scored 1 hit. Combat is simultaneous in this game, by the way, just for the record. All right, so we got some U.S. forces. We got an Anzac force, and then we got the Arvin. Let's do the Arvin first. There's 2 of them. They need a 1. Hey, rolled a 1 and a 2. So Arvin inflicting some damage on the enemy. I'll do the Anzac next. They need 2 or less, and they rolled a 1. Excellent. All right, excellent. And last but not least, I've got this Air Cav, and I've got these Marines. Okay, so the Marines hit on 3 or less, so we'll do them first. Ah, they rolled a 4. And the Air Cav is 4 or less, and they rolled a 6. What? No! Alright, but we did get some good damage. 2 MVA units defeated, and we will lose one of our Arvin forces there in the battle. Okay, so in case you notice here, you always want to do Arvin with U.S. and Iraq forces and stuff, because otherwise you're going to lose the U.S. and the U.S. costs a lot more. Okay, now second round of battle here is the NVA. They rolled a 4 and a 2, so they did score a hit. Okay, I have now I think 1 Arvin left, correct? Yes, I have 1 Arvin. So let's see if they get a hit. Nope, they missed this time. It was a 5. Let's see what the Anzac can do. They missed. It was a 6. Okay, U.S. Marines. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. I guess I'm in a singing mood tonight. So they got a 2. Excellent. Ah, but the Air Cav got a 6 again. Dude, what is the Air Cav doing? So both sides again inflicted a hit on each other. Okay. Alright, whoops. So we will lose that Arvin unit. So now we're down to Anzac and U.S. forces. Okay, but that's part of the reason I put them in the jungle there, because I knew this was going to be tough. Alright, another round of battle here. Now, as the U.S. players, the Allied player, you do have the option to retreat to the next highest space if you can, but the MVA will continue and the Viet Cong will continue fighting basically until the bitter end. Alright, so let's do the MVA and the Anzac first. That's a 3 and a 6, so they both missed. Alright, come on, Marines. Yes, it's a 1. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I love the Marine Corps. Excellent victory. Alright, looking good. Now, we do have some communist forces in that space 3, 4, but sometimes you just can't do things about that. Next space down here, we got 1 MVA unit in the jungle hitting on 2 or less, and we got the Rock hitting on a 3 or less. From things I read about Vietnam, the Rock troops were apparently quite fierce when fighting with the MVA and the Viet Cong. Both of them feared the Rock troops more than anybody else. Okay, well, good news and bad news. Which would you like first? Let's do the bad news. The bad news, the North Vietnamese got a hit. Oh, the good news, so did the Rock. Yay! So we wiped each other out. Okay. Alright. That's good and bad. I'll need to spend some points to, of course, rebuild those guys next turn. But that's, you know, that's the way it goes. Alright. And we have no other combats to do right now. So, situation pretty good, except for up there in the Highlands. But it's not going to last very long. Alright. Now we got to place enemy forces. So, placing MVA and VC units. So, for the Viet Cong, you roll a die. Whatever the die roll is, that is the region you will place them in, so long as there are Arvin and or Allied forces there. I rolled a 4. That's equal to Saigon. So we will put 1 Viet Cong unit in the 1-2 space, out in the rice paddies. Okay. So there they are. Now, if you roll a 6 with the Viet Cong, then you get to put 2 of them in 2 different regions, but only when you roll a 6. Okay. Now, for the North Vietnamese forces, it's basically based on the trail markers. So what you do here is you go ahead and start at the top, and you put in however many it says for each space. So like space 1, you're going to put 2. Space 2 is 2. Notice both of them funnel into way, so that's a big issue. We're going to do 2 here from this Laos one into region 3. Then we got these 2 Cambodia issues here as well. Now what I always do, because otherwise you can basically, there is a way to break this game, quite frankly. And the way to break the game is to basically load up enough troops here once you clear these out and keep these trail markers under control, that they will continue to funnel them into here and they won't end up elsewhere, especially when you have few NVA units left. So what I always do is I first count up 2, 4, 6, 8 and make sure I have enough NVA to cover. So let's see, 2, 4, 6, and 8 I do. Now if I had less than 8, let's say 5, then I would roll a die and figure out where those troops go in. It makes it a little more challenging, makes it a little more difficult too when you're deploying your opponents. So for space 1 up here, for the NVA space 1, we roll 2 dice because there's 2 trail markers. I rolled a 5 and a 6. So basically all you do is you take 2 NVA units and you put them in space 5 and space 6. So here they come back. Now, Communist space 2 also fuses away. So I roll 2 more dice because there's 2 trail markers there. This time it's a 2 and a 5. So we're going to have one go up into the jungle here and another one come into the jungle here. Now from this space in Laos, there are 2 trail markers. So now we're going to roll twice to find out where the next 2 NVA units go. 1 and a 3. So one of them goes into here and another one goes into here. And then we've got this space in Cambodia, which leads to Saigon. They rolled a 2, so they went into the rice paddies, supporting the Viet Cong that are already deployed there. And then last but not least, we got this one down here by the Mekong, and that was a 6, so they went deep into the rice paddies, basically going where we're not. And that's one of the frustrating things about this game, much like the war, is you basically have to go hunt them down. Okay. Now, once that's done, then you check all the regions and see for the insurgency combat any spaces, like up here, that have both communist forces and allied forces in the same spot. Then you do some battles. So we're going to fight over here in the jungle again. So we got 2 MVA units. We're again looking for 2 or less. 6 and a 5, so no hits. Lucky us. Okay, I got the Marines. They're 3 or less. And it was a 3. And then I got the Air Cav. At 4 or less, they rolled a 2. So those NVA units were completely thrashed, trying to bust in there and cause trouble. Okay? Alright, now moving down to here, in Region 3, we have an ARVN and an NVA unit out in the rice paddies. So they're both going to be rolling for 2 or less. So the first roll, 4 and a 3. So, try it again. This time it's a 3 and a 3. So again, nobody got a hit. Here we go again. 2 5s. Alright. 4 and a 5. So still nobody got anything. 4 and a 6. I'm sure now you can see one of the drawbacks to this game is if you have only a few units in a space, this could go on forever. What is it, about 6 rounds now? Oh, mercifully, finally, the ARVN rolled a 2. The NVA rolled a 5, so they are defeated. Alright. Okay, down here in Saigon, we don't have anything to worry about because the only unit there is one that doesn't have a neighbor. And then same thing down here in the Mekong, space number 6 out in the rice paddies. There are no places where both sides have troops. Okay, so now, next step here is to see about a potential enemy offensive. Alright. Now, for this part, what you do basically is you roll a die. If it is a 6, it's a major offensive, which means the MVA and the Viet Cong are going to be launching forces all through these regions. Okay. Otherwise, if you roll a single, well, when you roll, I shouldn't say if, when you roll a single die, you match the die roll up to the region. So here, we've got the Mekong. It was a roll of 5. Okay, and what happens here now is you're going to take every single Vietnamese, North Vietnamese communist unit, and you're going to move it up 1 space. Okay, so if you're in the 6th space, you're going to go back to the 1-2 space. So here comes the MVA, and they're going to try and attack and drive us out of the jungle there and try to dig themselves into that position. Okay. Notice the offensive only takes place in the region that you rolled. So the rest of those other 4 regions, they're going to sit quietly until next turn when I'm going to go and basically run through the jungle and hunt them down. Okay. So we've got a U.S. unit, and we've got an ARVN unit, and we got an NVA unit. And again, I do recommend like giving each force a different color, because then you can roll them together instead of having to roll over and over and over again. So here we go. All right, 2 5s by the ARVN and the North Vietnamese, but a 3 by the Air Cav. That's another MVA unit defeated. Okay, all right, and that's that. Now, the next part of things here in the turn is the Air Cav redeployment. Okay, so with your Air Cav units, all right, U.S. Air Cav and ARVN, when ARVN finally gets their air mobile unit later in the game. Okay, you can move to any area in any region that doesn't have North Vietnamese or Viet Cong forces. So notice, you're basically moving them base to base, and then you're going to use them to attack the enemy at that point. So what I think I'm going to do here is, I'm thinking about redeploying this one in the Mekong and sending it elsewhere. But the question is where? I'm thinking I'm going to redeploy it up here with the rock forces to fight in the jungle, because there's a lot of jungle up here in the north. But maybe I should have moved it to the highlands, huh? Alright, well, I placed it, so it's over. It's done with. And the last thing you do is scoring the victory check, and you do your events roll. Okay, so again, in order to control a region, you basically have to have at least 1 U.S., Allied, or ARVN force there, and no communists. And you need 3 to score. So as you can see here, clearly we do not have control. There are MVA units in 2 of the spaces, so no dice. And here in the Highlands, we got Viet Cong and MVA in that 1 space, so no dice. Down here in Q Chai, again, if we hadn't managed to get rid of that that MVA unit, we'd have been alright, so no dice. Here in Saigon, got the same problem. They're out there in the rice paddies. Matter of fact, the only place that I cleared them out completely was the Mekong. So I only got 1, so no victory for me. Oh well. Okay, now, next step is we do our political points. And again, here on the track, there's a box. It's 15, so again, I'm getting 15 political points here. And now, the last thing you do is you roll your random event for the next turn. Okay, and underneath the random event chart, there are modifiers. This is turn 4, so there's no modifiers right now. It's just a die roll. It's a 5. Oh, brother. Alright, so no U.S. or Allied ground units. Okay, so basically I cannot raise U.S. or Allied ground units for this next turn. Alright. That's not very nice, but there's not much I can do about it. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. I don't think it's that I can't use the ones on the map. I'm trying to remember where that is in the rules. Let me just double check here. Hold on. So I thought that was somewhere. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I can't raise those forces. So I'm not sending any U forces here on the next turn in 1967. So we move into 1967 and we're ready to start our next turn. Okay. So I'll go ahead here, move a little faster this time just to show you. Again, here we go. So let's get the trail. It's a 2 and a 6. Okay, well the 2, we already have 2 trail markers, so they're going to get their SAM site there. Okay, just in case I decide to send my B-52s, which, yay, I can do this turn. Halla bloody Luya. Now, Cambodia only has 1 trail marker, so they're getting a 2nd. I got problems. All right. Now I can attack the trail counters. Now every B-52 costs me 2 political points. Green Beret costs me 1. I can't bring any U.S. forces into the game this turn anyway, so I might as well use my points to try and blast what I can. Okay? So, actually, I can't even bring in that rock unit back. It says no U.S. or allied. Well, that's a bummer, man. Alright, let's see. Well, let's do this. Let's send in this B-52 to here. I'll send in another B-52 up here, along with a Green Beret. Fighting soldiers from the sky. And then the last one down here. Okay? Green Berets hit on a roll of 1 or 2, and B-52s hit on a 1 through 4. So here we go. We'll start here in Communist Space 4 with the Green Berets. Hey, it's a 2 fearless men who jump and die. So, we remove a trail marker. Awesome. Totally awesome. Alright, now the B-52s. Come on, babe, let's cruise away. I was just thinking that song, Heavy Metal. 4. It is a 4, so bam, baby. Another trail marker blasted. Alright, going into Space 5 now. Another B-52 bombing. And this B-52 bombing is a 3. Yeah. Bam, baby. That's what I'm talking about. See, this is why I needed that last turn. And last but not least, my Green Berets again. Oh, that's a 5. Oh. So I only had 1 failure out of all of that. Okay? And I paid the political cost for that too. So Green Beret attacks are 1, so 1, 2. 2 of the B-52s, that's 4, so 13 minus 4. Leaves me with 9 points to spend now to raise new units. But remember, I can't do any U.S. ground or any Allied ground. So the only thing I can do is these Arvin, which is a bummer because then I am going to waste political points. Arrgh, curses! Alright, well, that's how it goes. You know, that's just part of the territory, the frustrations of being stuck in the theater command while the politicians are making decisions in Saigon and Washington. OMG. Alright, so I have, how many Arvin forces do I have here? I'm sure I can pay for the 1, 3, 4, and 5. So I have 5 I can place. 9 minus 5 is 4. So I wasted 4 political points. Alright, so I'm going to put 1 each in these rice paddies because they can come in Cambodia and I want to start to clear that out. I'm going to put an extra unit. Well, actually, you know what? Hold on. Those 4 political points I still could use them for something. I'm going to put 2 Arvin in this rice paddy over here. And I'm going to bring another Arvin force into this jungle here. And I'm going to use one of my political points. And I'm going to move this U.S. Marine unit from here down to here to help them clear out that region. Let me see if I can get a hold of things here. Because if I can clear out these regions, notice this is all empty now. They can't funnel troops into here. That's awesome. Alright. Okay, so here we go, combat-wise. We'll start up here at Way. So let's see what we get here. Oh, wait, I can move my units around. I forgot. So I will move them. I'll move these guys all into here. Because basically I want to spend my time trying to beat up the enemy as much as possible. Actually, I'm going to move this rock unit here. I'm going to leave 1 Arvin unit there. And we'll do it like that. Okay. Down here, of course, I'm going to gang up on everything because I can. So let me zoom back out again. Whoops, that's in. Here, I'm going to send these guys into here. Here, I'm going to send these guys into here. And again, it's a little bit of overkill down here, but I know there's going to be enemy coming. There's just no question about that. Alright, let's try this again now. Back up here at Way. Okay. So we're going to start out here, whoops, in the jungle, as always. Alright, we've got 2 NVA units. We'll only get 2 or less. They got a 4 and a 5. Ooh, I smell golden opportunity. Alright, so I've got Arvin and U.S. forces. Let's see what we can get here. Ah, 2 6s, curses. Alright, round 2. Ah, they rolled a 3 and a 2, so they secured a hit on us. Ah, We got a 6 and a 4. Well, the 4 is good for the air cav. So, that will take out the ARVN unit, but that will leave the US unit in its space. So that's good news there. Down here in the rice paddies, we've got 2 ARVN forces and 1 North Vietnamese. And the North Vietnamese are roundly defeated. They didn't inflict any damage at all. Alright. Moving on. Down to the Highlands. Big battle down there. Big battle going on. Okay. So we've got, out in the jungle, we've got the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese. They scored a hit. They rolled 6 and a 2. Alright, I've got almost 1 of each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a green die for the US, a blue die for the Anzac, and I'll use a black die for the ARVN. So let's see what happens. Well, okay. Interestingly enough, the only one that got a hit was the ARVN. Alright, so both sides. Now remember, you remove the Viet Cong before you remove MVA units. So there's that victory there for them, so to speak. Because their MVA units are stronger, generally speaking. And then we've got the MVA, which rolled 4, no luck there. And we got Snake Eyes by the Allied forces, so we cleared them out of the Highlands. Cool. Alright, down here to Q Chai, we got US and ARVN up against MVA. So here we go. Whoa, and the ARVN again, getting the blow in. They rolled a 1. And the Viet Cong, or the North Vietnamese, got nothing. Alright, down here in the rice paddies. Big fight down here. Between these two sides. So, North Vietnamese missed. Viet Cong also missed. Okay, because they only have a value of 1 in the rice paddies. ARVN forces scored 1 hit. So we got rid of that Viet Cong unit. Alright. So now, get just the NVA. And again, wow, I'm getting really lucky with my dice. We defeated them. Cool. So now, this is really great. Okay? Because Saigon's under control. Mekong is under control. The Highlands have been swept clear. Only Wei. Actually, no, Wei has been swept clear too. Wow, I don't think I've ever done this before. I swept everybody away. Ooh. Wowzers. Okay. So let's see now. Now, of course, you know, the Empire always strikes back, so to speak. So let's see what they're going to do here. So we got the Viet Cong first. Let's see where they're going. They rolled a 6. Crap, of course they rolled a 6. So now they'll be putting in 2 different regions. Okay, Region 1 and Region 5. There are units in both of those. So, Region 1, it's going to be Space 6. Region 5, Space 1. Okay, so 6 and 1. Of course, into the jungle. Crap. Ugh. Alright. Now, got all these North Vietnamese forces here, so we start at the top. 6 and 4. So let's see, 6 and 4. Okay. The next 2 in that space are 1 and 2. Ouch, this could cost me my air cav unit. Oh well. No guts, no glory. Alright, now the only other place is way down here, because this is empty. Alright, let's see what they get down there. 2 and 5. Dang it, they might ruin my plans. So 2 is here. 5 is here. So now we got to do the insurgency combat. There's going to be a lot of it here as we go through. So let's see what happens here. We'll start up at Wei. Out in the jungle. Ah, crap. Well, good news and bad news. Bad news is I lost that US Air Cap. The good news is I took somebody with me. Alright, over in the city of Wei. There's a battle raging there. good. The Marines were able to hold their ground, and they defeated the North Vietnamese forces, so that takes care of that. Then down here in the rice paddies, we have North Vietnamese, which missed, and Viet Cong up against 2 ARVN. They also missed. How'd the ARVN do? Ah, the ARVN missed. Dang it. Alright. North Vietnamese, they scored a hit. Viet Cong missed. 2 ARVN. Ah, they both missed. No! I feel like Darth Vader, right? Alright, let's try again here. North Vietnamese. Oh, they got a hit, so we're going to get defeated. No matter what happens. And the ARVN missed again. Shoot. Alright, well, you know what? I can't complain too much. The ARVN's actually done really well this game for me. Alright, so now down in the Highlands, nobody home. Cu Chi, nobody home. Saigon, nobody home. Now down here in the jungle, we have a problem. Oh, here's open. And no hope. Alright, so unfortunately the ARVN got defeated in the jungles of the Mekong. Dang it. You know what? I don't think I want to be able to hold 3 spaces. Well, actually, you know what? I think I can still hold 3 spaces. Let's wait and see. Alright, because I have to wait for the offensive. That's the other thing. And then out here in the rice paddies, we got 1-on-1. Nobody hit anything. Second time. Ah, dang it. ARVN was defeated the second time around. That doesn't happen in the rice paddies too often, but it does. Alright. Now we got to see what kind of offensive there will be here for the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong. It's a 3. Okay, but there's nobody home. There's nobody in this space, so there's no offensive. Alright. So now we move on. Air Cav redeployment if I want to do it. Let me see. I got my Air Cav in the Highlands. You know what? I am going to redeploy them. I'm going to send them down here to support the ARVN. We're going to go fighting into the Mekong here. Okay. Alright, so now scoring. So, Wei, there's both sides. Highlands, there's only the Anzac. Cu Chi, there's US and ARVN. Saigon, there's ARVN. There's my magic 3. Finally scored 1. Halla bloody Luya. But it took me a lot of time and effort to do. My political points for the next turn, once again, are 15. So we'll put the marker there. Random event is a 2. And this is turn 5, so there's no modifier. 2. What? What? No B-52 attacks? Oh, come on, man. Oh. Ah, I wanted to blast them out of Cambodia at the bottom. Ah, curses. Alright. Well, that's that. Okay, so that's the end of that turn. And now I'm moving into 1968, so the Tet Offensive could be lurking here, who knows. Alright, and that's how the game plays. Overall, I like the game. It is a lot of fun to play. It's the one Vietnam game I keep coming back to because it gets me my my Vietnam experience, if you will, without getting too complicated or too involved and stuff. I mean, I do have other Vietnam games like Hearts and Minds and Victory in Vietnam, which is an excellent game if you really want to get a detailed game going. I do like Hearts and Mind a lot too, don't get me wrong. One of the best things I like about Hearts and Mind is the fact that you can start and stop any years that you want. And I wrote a review about both of those, I believe. So if you're interested, you can check that out on Board Game Geek. I know I wrote a review for Hearts and Minds. I'm not 100% sure about Victory in Vietnam, but I definitely did Hearts and Minds. You can check out more of my thoughts there if you want. If you're into Vietnam, I will say this. Those are both worth getting. Okay, but if you're like me and you just occasionally want to play a Vietnam game, this is the first time I've played this game in over 2 years, almost 2.5 years, I would stick with something like this. Because you still get the experience, like the frustration of no B-52 attacks, and also trying to secure all the regions without getting into, a lot of overhead, if you will, as well. I do recommend my personal optional rule on deploying the MVA, especially when you get lots of trail markers into the game. Again, that's a thread under variants on Board Game Geek if you want more details there. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this playthrough. And I'm going from one climate extreme to to another here with my next play. I finally have decided after all these years I'm going to pull Narvik off my shelf and give it a go. The Norwegian campaign in 1940. So, this has been Tim Korchnoi from Bare Bones Wargaming saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next episode from literally the polar opposite of where this game takes place. Thanks for watching.